Welcome to Session 3 of Saints of the Americas, and this week we'll hear about the first saint that was born on American soil, St. Elizabeth Ann Seton. She was born in 1771, about 100 years after Terry had died. Fathers Corda and Lavelle will explain more about her life, but we want to make sure that we note that she was responsible for establishing the first free Catholic school in the United States. Here in East Liverpool, St. Aloysius School was established in 1885 when the rectory was converted into a school, and then the current building was first built in 1901 with a new addition in 1957.
The saint we're going to talk about and with today is Elizabeth Ann Seton. Many of the folks that are with us have heard her name, unlike the first two saints we spoke about. What makes Elizabeth Ann Seton such, not necessarily a household word, but someone who is more recognizable in the life of the church?
Well, I think the first thing that makes her more recognizable to us, and it is perhaps the one thing she is most noted for, in addition to other aspects of her life, is that she is the first native-born citizen of the United States to become a saint. She was born here in the United States just a few years before the outbreak of the American Revolution. She's born Episcopalian and lives as an Episcopalian for 2/3 of her life, for the first 30 years of her life. But she was the first person who was actually born on this soil who then becomes a saint. That's very important when you think of how far we as a country have come in our acceptance of people of different faiths. We might think that this is the land of the free and this is where everyone had an opportunity and the American dream and we are that great melting pot. It wasn't necessarily always the case. We see that in certain ethnicities and we certainly see it in different religions. And so for a Catholic in the United States to be able to look and say, look at this person, that we have saints here. You know, the Catholic Church has this happening right here in our country. Big shift, you know, a big change for us.
And how unusual it would have been during the time that she lived to really become a convert to Catholicism. You know, around this time of the American Revolution, Catholicism was really not something that was lifted up as being a religion that was celebrated in the American states. And so it would have been a difficult time as well. And yet we find that this woman also, we talk about vocation as well. You know, when God issues a vocation, it's not always readily received. You know, we know that Elizabeth Ann Seton first embarks on married life and then becomes a religious woman. And how often we see that in our church today. Many of the women who are either widows or later in life become religious because there's this call that God issues early on in their life that they don't necessarily accept right away for whatever circumstances. And her circumstances were such that she did not until later in her life. Tell us a little bit about what else was going on during the time of Elizabeth Ann Seton's life.
Well, and for Elizabeth, you know, there would have been in her Protestant life, post-Revolutionary War, married, children. There's a little bit of means, a little bit of society life. That is kind of all taken away from her. You know, her husband dies, left rather impoverished. And I think she is one who, in her vocations, if we could say that of her, is there wasn't, we have no reason to believe that as a young Episcopalian girl she always wanted to be a Catholic nun. You know, she answered the call of a vocation to married life, to have children, but she invited the circumstances of her life to open her up to the possibility of a vocation. I think that's another aspect maybe we need to invite people to recognize, that we talked previously about second career vocations. It doesn't mean that you weren't fulfilled or happy in the life that you had. We certainly don't want people to think life was horrible until I became this. But to embrace the opportunities or the circumstances you find yourself in. I think for Elizabeth, The circumstances brought her to a deepening understanding of who the Lord was. For her, in her challenges and difficulties, she found joy in inviting this new relationship with the Lord. Not that she didn't have one, but in this new faith for her. She found it to be, as I like to tell people, if you're thinking of converting to the Catholic faith, it really needs to become the best expression of your relationship with the Lord. You can't become a cafeteria Catholic from day one. So whatever your religion is, it should be the best expression of your relationship with the Lord. Elizabeth finds that that is through the Catholic faith. She then wants to offer this to her children as well. And what she also, aside from being the first native-born saint, is most noted for is her endeavors in the American Catholic school system. She develops the first free Catholic school, primarily to educate her children and other Catholic children in her area, but it really then develops and emerges into the Catholic system that we have in our country right now.
Let's talk in the last few minutes of our time together in the show about Catholic schools, because we know in the lives of many of the saints, they have been very instrumental in teaching children. We could name several saints that was their avocation, that was their charism. What is so important about Catholic schools, not only here locally, but around the country?
Well, I think if we even look back to when Elizabeth Seton started this, and then certainly as they emerge and grow deep into the 1800s, into the 19th century, one of the things about a Catholic school was there was this suspicion of Catholics. Because we are an immigrant church, the Catholic Church by and large grows in the United States with the emergence of an immigrant population. Why it was not so large was we were a country that was predominantly founded with English settlers. You had small pockets of Spanish settlers and people of other regions from Europe, but by and large English, so by and large Protestant. As you start to see the waves of immigration, the Irish, the Italian, Eastern European, they bring with them their Catholic faith, and so it's part and parcel of suspicion. I'm suspicious of you coming from Italy, and you've brought this faith. I'm suspicious of these Irish, they left because they had no food, and now they come here and they want to take jobs from us, and they bring this faith with them. So the Catholic schools emerge also as an immigrant school system where there would have been great discrimination. They really weren't welcome in the public school structure. So it really runs as a parallel school system that also embarks on and invites a knowledge of the faith. And it does become part and parcel. You become, if you ask many people of older generations, what are you? That question of what are you? Ask a young person what they are, they're going to tell you where they go to school or what they do for a living. You ask an older person, what are you? I'm Italian, I'm Catholic. I'm Irish, I'm Catholic. It became what you were. But the emergence of the Catholic school system really was first built on discrimination, but then flourished into being accepted in society, and really then became the bedrock of what people wanted for education, where it goes from discrimination to people who are not Catholic seeing the value of a Catholic university or a Catholic high school or even a Catholic elementary school. And to this day, though economics and vocations and demographics have played a part in maybe weakening the presence of Catholic schools in certain parts of the country, they're still seen as the place that are there to educate young people, and predominantly in poorer communities, trying to provide that quality education.
We thank you for being with us. Have a good day, and God be with you.
The Communion of Saints was a production of CTNY, the Catholic Television Network of Youngstown. Your program hosts were Father Jim Corda and Father Jack Lavelle.